Ankur, can you just tell me, uh, why did you do CA? Okay, what was your goal starting out, and how did you start your career? So yeah, over to you.
Well, I kind of started with very early stage actually. So when I was in my ninth and tenth standard, one of the few things that I really enjoyed was going out and playing football, right? And when it came to tenth, and people had to decide whether they want to take science, they want to take commerce. My parents were after me that you do well, you know science, you should take up science. We want to see you as a doctor or an engineer. Choose one of the two options. And then eventually, the reason I took commerce was only one, that if I take up science, I probably will study the entire day and not get to go out and play. So that's a funny story for me, because I think nobody really starts the thought process in such a manner that they want to go out and play. I will always want to be a sports person, but yeah, I mean, from a career perspective, that's how I chose commerce. And then once I chose commerce, I mean, ever since my ninth standard, I was always fascinated by numbers, mathematics, and then in 11th, my accounts and economics were the favorite subjects. I think I kind of continued working on them. And then it became an automatic choice. In 11th, I had decided I wanted to be a chartered accountant, um, and wanted to. I mean, college also wasn't a big choice, to be honest. I mean, it was always the focus that I wanted to be a chartered accountant. The numbers interested me. How we kind of do accounting interested me. How we deal with people. I mean, I think while I was doing chartered accountancy, I mean, we got to know about so many big fours, the other firms, the smaller firms, and eventually the final decision came up to be, okay, this is my journey, and this is where I start. Um, so at that point of time, when I cleared my schooling, I think there was a slight change in the CA curriculum, and CA Chartered Accountancy curriculum, and from there, it kind of, from a normal foundation, intermediate, and final, it changed to a common proficiency test and PCC and final. And then that's when I said, okay, this is probably my gateway to getting into it. They've made the entry easier, so it's easier to kind of get into it. I got into Hansraj College, so that was an interesting part where I had to decide which one to pick up in terms of. I got through PwC. I had my college as one of the very good colleges in the North Campus. Um, so it was a very difficult choice, but I think because I always wanted to be a chartered accountant, that trumped everything. So even the graduation. So I moved to distance learning, and then after after a lot of back and forth, I finally got into PwC as an article student. So that's where my journey really started of being a chartered accountant. But the thought was always clear that's where I want to be. Now that's a very early phase where things happened. Getting into PwC was again a big dream, anybody's dream, to be honest. I think getting into Big Four, the brand, the name, the global presence, and everything. You getting to know such qualified and professional people, um, and sometimes the aura is just brilliant. I think it just helps you develop in a very different way. So a huge credit to, I think, of my where I stand today. A huge credit goes to PwC, because I spent close to 11 years with that firm, um, and it's absolutely brilliant. So while I cleared my CA, it was always difficult negotiating a good leave, uh, the leave time period. But I think the managers were very gracious to allow me that, and it was good to get going in one go. Um, I mean, in one go for the intermediate, which was the PCC. In the final, I gave both groups, but then I faltered in one of the groups, which I thought I would clear easily. It was the other way around. I cleared the other one, and failed this one, and then eventually in the next attempt I cleared that. So it was one of those feelings that I can't ever forget. I was sitting on a client, um, discussing some reconciliation, and I shouted right in the middle of their finance section. But I'm a chartered accountant now, so I can't I can't ever forget that feeling of being a chartered accountant. It is special for whoever does it. Um, it is a, like we say, the ride to the top is lonely. I think I truly believe that. I think
My God.
there's a lot of sacrifices that you do as a chartered accountant. You miss out on events, you miss out on functions. I mean, as simple as your parents' birthdays or anniversaries, parties that you would want to go to. But I think when you see that uh, two alphabets in front of your name, the CA, it's absolutely, it's overwhelming to say. I think
I'm just
what you
going
feel.
back to all the days, all the Diwalis, all the classes. It was, if I had to do it again, it's sometimes I get these nightmares. I'm still giving my CA exam, it's so weird. It was those days. My God.
Yeah.
So, Ankur, now my next question is, okay, done. You've done with CA and everything. You've done your articles at PwC. Amazing. Okay. You mentioned that you
Mm,
were with PwC for 11 long years. Okay. So, I just want to go
mm.
back to the first year when you started you as a qualified CA. So, what was your vision and what was your goal? How did you start out? Did you say, hey, you know what, I want to, PwC gives you such a good articles at PwC is a big deal. You could get into the industry, you could get into whatever profile you want. So how did you decide that? And what was your goal, in the coming few years? How did it evolve?
So I think if you would have asked me the question when I cleared my CA or even during articleship, I was very clear of the view that I wanted to be a partner at PwC. I was extremely clear. I mean, there was a big town hall, and there was a question asked by the assurance leader that who wants to be a partner, and I was one of the few who raised their hands. And ever since then, my colleagues have always teased me about it, that I don't think any of us had that clarity that we wanted to be there, but it was only you who wanted that. So I think that the idea was very simple, that I think what I need to be is the partner. Then I kind of thought about, okay, do I want to run a rat race of competing with others, or I want to go at what I want to do for myself? I think the biggest thing that always people, and one of the things my dad always says is, get the learning right. Right. And he said that ever since I was studying or doing my CA, or get that learning right, get those concepts right. As long as you get those right, you'll get the success. I mean, it may come 5 years later, but you will get that success. It will not run away from you, right? It is just about being consistent and having the right attitude to keep learning, thinking of doing better, of what you being a better version of what you were yesterday, both professionally and as a person, right? And that helps you grow. And the biggest thing that I learned from a mentor at PwC was two, actually. One, maintain who you are, right? There's a lot of times we kind of give in to big four culture and everything, and then kind of move away from who we actually are. And the second thing he said was, you want to be a partner, start behaving like a partner right now, right? If I am a partner, I have to sign on this balance sheet, right? On these financial statements. If I sign on these financial statements, I have to rely on you. So if you already believe in yourself, and if you're auditing a particular number and you say, I can sign on this number, then it's an easy job as you move ahead. So I think those two things have really stuck with me, and I think a huge credit. I still speak to him a lot. I think he's a fantastic mentor. I mean, I don't know if you've heard. He's Mr. Abhishek Rara, who's the CEO at PwC right now, but absolutely fantastic gentleman. I think I owe a lot of credit to him.
You're lucky
So
to
yeah,
get that grooming at a young age, right? With the right
absolutely.
mindset, training you with the right
Absolutely.
mindset. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, because you'll find a lot of people in Big Four, right? There will be a lot of people who will be doing the rat race, right? It is a factual thing, right? There's no denying that. People are trying to pull you down. right? It's the crab story. If somebody trying to go up, you pull them down.
Yeah.
But it is it's important that you get one person, and that one person can make all the difference, right? Um, and then I think it was easy as I qualified. The focus was always to know what I did, what I could do differently, right? So every time we had a feedback session, even though there were a lot of times when I was not happy in terms of, oh, why did you give me this rating? Why did you natural instinct taking over? But I think at the end of the day, the idea was, okay, if I didn't do this, what should I have done to achieve where I want to be? And it was never about competing with others. I think a lot of times, what I've realized over these last 15 years of my professional journey is we try and compete too much with others. It's probably not really required.
I was just going to add, I think your plan is to beat yourself every day and not somebody else. That's what you that's the grooming you've got, and that's what you've stuck to and holding on to.
Absolutely.
So Ankur, that leads me to the next question, which is very obvious. You started out at a young age thinking you want to be a partner. You had great mentors. Okay. So what happened next? Okay, how did the plan of being a partner at a big four change? And why did it change?
So I think I'll so after spending about what 7 years with PwC India, I got this opportunity, and PwC went through a big difficult time with Satyam and things being heavy on them. But I think they turned it around, and then slowly and gradually, secondments started opening up. And that's when I got a chance to go to PwC Reading and work with a gentleman called Christopher Borum. And he was a partner. And one thing that he really helped me was my inherent nature. While I might seem very outspoken right now, but my inherent nature from the beginning was a very introvert person. I did have ideas, but I was very shy to share those ideas.
Oh, same here.
And he was, and he was very clear in when he spoke to me that if you have, I don't want you to put a calendar invite to me if you want to come and speak to me. I want you to walk into my knock on the door, walk into my cabin, and ask me what you want. Right? If you have any concerns, raise it up to me. And I think that took me to another level. I think the 2 years I spent with the UK firm, it was absolutely fantastic because uh, Mr. Borum kind of helped me kind of get out of my shell, be confident, give big presentations. I was kind of leading audit committees. I was leading a partner meeting, I mean, which had about 6 senior partners, speaking in front of the managing directors, the CFOs, the CEOs, and it kind of just lifted me into altogether a different realm that, okay, I can do this. I mean, it was maybe hidden in me somewhere. I think you just kind of pulled it out and it just kind of stuck with me. So after 2 years, while they wanted me to stay and continue, and it was a great opportunity to continue in the UK, but I think family is always comes first. So I think I decided to come back, stick with PwC India. Um, but really, what happened was a couple of things. I think there was a slight clash. There's always a difference in culture of how Indian folks work and how people in the UK and the US work. Um, and when you start trying to bring new things, they're very rigid in terms of changing themselves because they've been used to doing certain things. So when you're trying to bring in something new, it is always challenging for people. And after trying for a couple of years, what I felt was maybe I'm trying too much. Because it started affecting my health. I think that was one of the biggest reasons of moving away from PwC was health, and then also the fact that I can't add value if I don't stay who I am. If I was going to go back into where I was and not really utilize the person that I had become in terms of being more confident, being more communicative, it won't help me as a person, right? And that's when you have to decide. And I spoke to Mr. Rara, very candidly that I think it's not working out. I think one, health, and two, just I don't want to change myself. While you are supportive, but I think the organization is about a lot of many people than just one person. So I would want I would want PwC to grow, but I think I can't provide that value anymore if I have to change myself. And that's what triggered it. And eventually, I decided, okay, now it's time to look for something that honestly I was looking for something light. And everybody mentioned that EY backend, the global delivery service is a very it's an okay. You won't have to stretch longer. The weekends are lighter. So I said, okay, why not give it a try? And that's when I got there, moved away from PwC and went to EY. EY, when I joined, it was more about making sure I get my health back in order. I had severe backache issues. Sitting job has its pros and cons. Um, Severe sleep anxiety issues, and it just kind of blew me away. And then slowly and gradually, the idea was just Eva should help me do that, right? Um, while they were great things, I think as I moved to EY, great things that I learned there. I think learned biggest part was the project management side of things, handling about 70 odd people team, speaking to the US, visiting US regularly, developing that business for EY for a particular region, and building that connect. I think till date, I think a lot of partners in the US Chicago office from EY still reach out to me on LinkedIn. We still have a good chat about it. But essentially, what really triggered me to move to EY was just the health and staying to who I am. And this global opportunity was similar to what I was, being more communicative, being and that helped me make that decision. Sometimes you have to just take a step back to really assess, because a lot of people always thought and still do that a back end office does not help you grow. It is just about knowing what you want to take from that opportunity or the career move, right? And for me, the clear indicator was, okay, I want to understand that what really is it, right? I want to gain that knowledge of being able to manage bigger teams, 70 odd teams. Sorry, team of 70 odd people. And just the primary focus again was health, right? And that's what my interviewer, who's a partner right now, Mr. Savesh Mathur, he laughed when I said that honestly, I'm coming here for better health, right? So he said, I've heard work-life balance as a reason, but I've never heard such a reason. I said it's part of it, I would say. But I think it was a great 2.5 years with EY. I think it helped me build a lot of relationship. It helped me understand the US markets a lot. It helped me understand how you deal with teams in the US, within EY in India, with the leadership, with people. Everybody has issues. Everybody has issues. It's just about being able to understand what you want to do. And one of the principles that I always followed was you should always take care of people, right? Richard Branson said, take care of the people and they will take care of your business. Um, and that's somehow just stuck with me in terms of, okay, I want to make sure where a lot of mentoring went into me, where a lot of mentors helped me where I am. I need to be there as a mentor for people, right? While of course, business is important. And that's how I started with my journey in EY, and that was all throughout. I had a difficult phase. I won't lie. It's part of my journey, uh, because I think it made me stronger. So I went through a period where some personal issues also didn't help, and I had to go through a paralysis stroke. So where I lost my right side and my speech. but God was there, and I kind of recovered in 6 months and was back with EY. So I think a lot of things happened. I think it was an accumulation, but till the time I was with EY, I was never thinking about being a partner, to be honest. I was only thinking about giving my best, learning new things, learning the nuances of the trade, learning about how HR does the function, how admin does the function, operations do the function, and that was all about it. And then there came a point in October 2020 is when I realized there's a huge boom in this outsourcing space, this offshore model. There is every single US firm is looking to manage their cost, is looking for resources which are technically sound and can deliver good quality. Um, and that's when I started thinking. I started thinking more in terms of understanding the market a little more, and eventually I reached out randomly to 15 different US CPA firms. Not top 100. I picked up beyond 100. Um, right. So there were certain CPA firms who just did not respond. Right. There were only 5 CPA firms who responded. Then we had a few back and forth. And then eventually there was only one CPA firm which went quickly with the idea. And when I thought about it, I always thought, okay, I'll set up my own company, and then I'll provide those manpower for services from that perspective. And that at that point, that company, the CPA firm's name was Benjamin and Co. So we decided to go exclusive because they were so in a rush. They were a pretty much a startup. So when they kind of really the partners that are there currently took over in March 2021. Benjamin and Co. only had a revenue of $700,000. And they had a team of about 10 people in the US. I was the only person they agreed to sign up with. I mentioned it to EY. I think the partner was supportive. I think let me do what I wanted to do as a entrepreneur. Um, and yeah, I think things worked out, and now we are close to a $5 million firm. So I think it's in 2 years we've changed quite a bit.
Wow, that's inspiring, Ankur. That's amazing. That shows the growth and the potential this market has from 700,000 to 5 million. Wow.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, the growth is enormous. I mean, you saw a recent article that came out that we're looking at about
Yep.
300,000 accounting staff moving out.
Yep.
And that is a factual reality in the US, where people do not want to get into accounting or specifically public accounting space, because when it comes to PCOB audits, everybody is just skeptical and just not really willing to invest that time and effort. And there's a huge opportunity out there. People really want to understand how we can help. Like, I'll give how my journey started was I created this company in June 2021. And for the first 6 months, I only had 2 employees, right? And that too came in
Okay.
August.
Ankur, 1 second.
Sure,
I just want to
sure,
understand
sure,
one aspect. Okay. So
sure.
I understood you were working with Benjamin, the firm which is based in the US, while you were, with EY, just because you're an entrepreneur by heart, right? Like that's what you
Hmm.
wanted to do. So now I want to understand, is this your firm? Like, have you started this, yourself, or are you with them managing their US office in India? So, yep, if you could just take us.
Well, yeah, of course. So I started my India company with the sole motive of providing similar audit support services across the US CPA firms. However, when Benjamin came into picture, they wanted exclusivity, right? They wanted us to be working with them throughout the journey, right? So that's where I decided, okay, let's take a step back and we only focus on them completely, right? and help them grow their business. So technically, India is all me, owned by me right now, but we have exclusivity for Benjamin and Co. Then now it's Kreit Chiu. They've just changed their name because new partners have come in, Um and that's the background behind it. So we are still looking at integrating further where we want to transfer some of their tax work and see how we can grow this as a multi-service, multi-line of service organization. So that's what we are looking at. But and at this point of time, we're working exclusively for them, um, just because they wanted us to.
Amazing. Okay, so you were telling me you started it out and you guys were a team of two. I mean, tell me that.
Yeah. So starting was very interesting. I think I still love to share this story because one of the three main challenges any US CPA firm would have when they open an office or they want to utilize audit support. The first one is really the quality. I think everybody just beats that. Big Four quality. Big Four is all about quality. We don't see that in smaller firms. Can we deliver that quality is really that matters because in PCOB audits, your files are subject to inspections, anything go up and down. And if they have to invest the same amount of time after you've done it's not helpful for them. So the first one was really just quality. Can you deliver us what we expect in the US? The second one was really the cost effectiveness. Are you really cost effective for us? Like I said, if US has to spend the same amount of time as then it doesn't help them grow as an organization. And then third was really the data security. I think that's most important. Um, and That's where there are systems and processes in place, firewall, using the same cloud, the security application, VPN, and around that. So those were the three things. So when I started all by myself, just trying to work whatever they wanted me to work on from June and July, and that's when I said, okay, let's hire a couple of folks in India, right? And then we'll go with that. So we started off with two people in August, and by at the end of 6 months, I mean, it was a grueling journey. You spend about 15, 16 hours every single day, ensuring the output was of quality, setting up the two seniors that we hired, just making them understand. I think they've been of great help. I still can't thank them enough. Uh, and really just getting to a point where the US understands and appreciate the value we bring, right? I think India has tremendous talent. In some places or most places, I would say they can definitely be more technically sound than folks in the US as a majority. I'm not saying every other person, but yeah, as a majority. You of course have a bigger population, but I think where we really were able to showcase ourselves were one was the quality. And when I speak about quality, it included not only how we document our work papers, perform our audit procedures, but also the technical questions we asked, right? Challenging them on their approach. And then they suddenly thought, okay, I mean, we probably need a complete office in India who'll do everything. I mean, we trust you more. So it's all about getting yourselves in that circle of trust of that you can deliver to that level, and them being comfortable about it. Okay, if I give this to Ankur, I know it will be done, right? I don't need to worry about it. I don't need to follow up where we are. I know that he would communicate openly because that's another factor which is important in such offshore or onshore. And after those 6 months, I was absolutely clear. There was a clear discussion between me and the US firm that we are not going to be any other offshore practice, right? If you want to get work done from us, give us the entire client. Of course, you can get the signing done there, right? But give us the entire client. Let me tell people here, because we are a small firm, I have to sell something. I can't sell them that I'm going to only make you do cash and bank, right? If I want quality people, I need to give them that learning and technical opportunity to which challenges them, challenges the thought process, and that eventually push them to get to a point. Okay, yeah, I mean, yes, this is the place I would want to be. right? And US were more than willing, once they had seen for 6 months that the quality is sometimes better than what they are doing, their team was doing. So it was a clear win-win for both of us. Um, and eventually it worked out. We went on to become a team of, now we're a team of about 15 people. So still growing. I think we've had our attrition. I think people like it, people don't like it, but it's part of what you're trying to create. Uh,
That's
that's about it.
that's fantastic, Ankur. Amazing. Great stuff. Okay, so you finally found a balance between what you love, and a balance between your health and a lot of other aspects. So that partner dream of being a partner at a big four doesn't make sense any longer. It doesn't fit into the scheme of things.
Exactly. I mean, I feel it's great. I mean, if anybody who becomes partner at a big four, of course, it's a very different feeling. But a partner is a partner. You still own a business, right? You have to manage that business. You are the leader, and leaders don't create a perception that because their organization is small, so the big four is a bigger thing or a smaller. I've always of the view that your passion, your attitude of doing those things is all that matters. Um, One of the things that has always pushed me is, I think that's what my parents and my family always keep telling me is, you're too much into work. I think work is your first wife. And I said it's just the passion that I have, that I want to do. I want to do it right. Uh, and I want to keep doing this till it excites me. I think
Yeah.
that and it still does. I mean, accounting, even after 15 years, I still see something new coming up, and it's still, I want to do the research. I want to understand what it is. So as long as you have that passion, um, the rest comes easy. I think
Yeah.
it's just about that will to do
Yeah.
what you want to do. EY GDS is great. I think I respect them for what they've built me into. But I think the technical aspect is not really passed on to EY GDS, and that's the big difference that was there when I took over this venture. And we've done special purpose acquisition companies. We've done warrant accounting, complex derivative accounting, and business combinations. Being part of CFO services, virtual CFO services, where we're dealing with a US EV company, and they really want to work with us. They don't even reach out to US folks anymore, right? So even though we've kind of got it from them, but they just want to work with us. So it's very fascinating, the kind of work we've done. A lot of research on cryptocurrencies. We've done a lot of research. We're trying to do a lot of research on mining right now. So there's a huge variety, that and an exposure that you get, and the learning opportunities are tremendous. So as long as you have the attitude to learn, I think it's a easy win, and a great opportunity for you.
Okay, so it's not just you're doing the audit part, you're doing a lot of consulting work as well, like a lot of research, a lot of consulting work, which you can't call it really back office, but you're a consultant, you're also a consultant.
Absolutely.
Okay, the audit part could be the back office aspect where they are outsourcing it for, for a
Yeah,
reasonable price and for more manpower, but the other aspects
yeah.
are solid work. Okay, okay,
Absolutely. And even for audit, I would say, like, you have certain technical matters. We don't have to go back to the US. We do it ourselves and we deal with it. I would tell you that I was part of an audit committee, and I still continue to be. I've done 4 audit committees with Kreit Chiu of a US client. So we're pretty much we're pretty much an extension, right? We're pretty much an extended arm of kind of providing manpower, but you get you get what you want in terms of doing the technical stuff, doing what you want to do. Of course, the final responsibility still stays with the US firm, but it's about getting to do certain challenging work that excites you and keeps you going.
so I've spoken to so many people doing the US tax prep. I know how that works, enrolled agents, bookkeeping. But how does this auditing aspect work? what is the work that's outsourced to India on the auditing aspect? If you could just dig in.
So I think, and I'll break it down into two aspects. So in US, um, audit is only mandatory for public companies, right? Or under a particular statute. So there are certain private companies that are required to get audit under a particular statute. But for private companies, it's only required when there's a bank or any financial institution, or just the shareholders or the management do want to make sure they're doing the right thing. The future plan is go for an IPO, so to kind of keep themselves up to date. And there's a different standards to it. So the AICPA is the standard body which kind of gives all the accounting standards, and PCOB is one which gives specific standards for the US public company audits. So when we kind of work with our US counterparts, I think the key is just understanding what is the difference in terms of, firstly, the accounting standard that we've learned all this while. I mean, it was either the Indian GAAP or the Ind AS or even IFRS for that matter. I mean, Ind AS and IFRS are pretty similar. I mean, but when it comes to US GAAP, there are certain nuances which are different in each standard. I'll give you an example. Like in a cash flow statement in India, you give an indirect method. In the US, you can give a direct method, but you are also required to give a reconciliation with the indirect method, right? So there's certain nuances in each and every standard, right? And it requires you to just understand it. And that's where I said the learning is important. So when we have, let's suppose the US CPA firm gets an audit, um, they want to understand how much hours it will take, a staff, a senior, a manager, and a partner. That's how they prepare the budget. And then they decide, okay, um, we will share this part of the audit with the India folks, right? And I'm talking in general. I mean, I'll come back to specifically in terms of what we do. But what we do is, okay, cash and bank, because they are standard procedures, we kind of, can be taken up by the offshore practice. Expenses can be taken up by the offshore practice. There is fixed assets, not that complicated, small additions. The business is a service industry business, so not complicated. That can be done. So the US firm really thinks through, okay, what is really straightforward, objective, not requiring so much complex transactions. We could pass them on to as an offshore practice, because that way we'll get the maximum synergies, and the US folks can really focus on the significant risk areas, technical accounting matters, things like revenue, which is, or the fraud risk, management override of controls, then goodwill, impairment of goodwill, intangibles. So all those things is something that the US firm will look at. Then there will be things like, okay, this is the financial statements, this is the trial balance. Can we do a quick tie out with what's there, right? Is it the final version? Do you see any discrepancy? When I say tie out, checking the totals are matching, it is being cross-referenced appropriately, and things like that. So they feel if India team can pick that up, it reduces the first level of effort of looking at it, right? Similarly, they can ask you as you get more experience, they would ask you, okay, can you roll forward all our planning documents? Right? We've done this in the past. We want to do it for the current year. So instead of maybe December 21, could you change it to December 22? And if you feel there are any questions, you can kind of highlight that to us. So this is the basic sort of offshoring that happens in a lot of places. It's still prevalent because US is still skeptical about sharing that level of technical or subjective work, and that's how it happens. When it comes to sharing more technical stuff, how we do it is we say, okay, I have a manager sitting in India. He will prepare the budget. He will assign a staff or a senior in India, and everything will go through a review by me for a client that is being handled from India. So if a manager reviews it, I would review it, and then it goes to a US partner, right? And this would include everything on the audit, right? Communicating with the client, making sure we take, if we have to go get on calls with them, we go on calls with them, identifying those significant issues, doing those planning meetings, everything. So we say, okay, you've given us this client. We will prepare a questionnaire to ask the client. If you're required to visit the client, so sometimes there is inventory that's associated. So that is something that we purely focus that the US folks will do, visiting the client, doing that inventory count, doing those certain procedures of cutoff, and kind of identifying that. So that will, I think that stage comes when the US really feels comfortable in kind of giving up that level of technical detail or subjective work. But it essentially can start off with as basic as just doing uh, a cash and bank area. Even if you get one area at a time, right? If somebody wants, like, I have a friend who wanted to get into this. We spoke to a US CPA firm and I got them engaged, right? So they now kind of work together on things like bookkeeping. They kind of work together on simple things like cash and bank, expense vouching. So it's pretty straightforward stuff they continue to do, right? It what the US firm has realized, it does, while the first month or so does take a little time because there will be a lot of back and forth, just understanding that. But they've realized that yes, it's still fruitful because it will get our work done and we don't have to focus on smaller areas and can focus on the bigger areas, which they should. Um, and that's how they've managed to get more clients in, get more. So generally, these days, every client wants these services free, right? Be it in India or be it in the US, right? So they can now use that cost arbitrage to get those clients, right? And that's essentially the key.
That's amazing. That's amazing, Ankur. So, Ankur, I have two more questions for you. The next one is,
Sure.
what are your future plans? How do you see yourself and your entrepreneurial journey growing? Okay, what are the plans?
Mhm.
Okay, that's question number one. Okay, second one is, there are so many others, like your friend, who wants to get
Mhm.
into bookkeeping, tax preparation, and also what you're doing on the audit and consulting front. Okay, so what would you tell them? How do they start? Because I know a lot of my friends as well dried out at the big four. Yeah, I mean, they're like, because they know how much the clients are paying them and how much they are getting. They feel, shit, I'm getting peanuts, nothing, literally, you know. So what would you tell them? And as you said, health issues. Everyone is having
Absolutely.
severe health issues, like, forget mental, physical, you know.
It
So
just drains you out.
yeah, and you went through. I'll talk about that as well. I mean, what advice would you give to someone who's going through what you went through? But answer these two questions. Yeah.
Sorry, the first one was again
Yeah, the first one was, what are your future plans?
future plans. So, how I foresee this and I envision this is, uh, one, we want to make India the hub for this firm, Kreit Chiu. We want to make India the key element for all their resources should be here. Only the senior manager or the managers or partners should be sitting in the US because they have to take that final call and do that. Um, the other thing is including the tax function again, right? So that's my short term vision. And if I look at the next 3 years, um, and then eventually we would hopefully be at least a $20 million firm in the next 3 years. Um, and these are my big ticket items in terms of admin things being managed in India for the entire US. Um, us leading from a resourcing perspective, we leading the charge on the clients, and of course, it's just kind of doing everything out of India. So that including the tax function, and then leading it to be a $20 million firm as we move ahead. So these are three big items that I'm looking at.
Superb. And I'll just ask you again. So from what I understand, how, just for an example, how you have GT Bharat, okay, which is a part
Mhm.
of a network firm of GT, right? The GT Global. So same
Yeah,
way, you are the founder of the Indian one of Kreit and Chew, right? So you are a part
yeah,
of their network, but it's your firm, it's your company, correct?
yeah,
Am I getting it right?
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Wow,
that's
that's commendable, and it's a good move, right? So you've got a brand name. You have
absolutely.
the experience, the expertise, communication skills, leadership skills, all of it. This is fab. This is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's it's great. I mean, we still hungry.
Yeah,
That's what I'll put it at. I
yeah,
mean, not to. I mean, yes, we have certain vision and certain outlook in mind, but I think the idea is that just getting better at what we do. I mean, there's still a lot of things that we want to improve. We still not our processes are not streamlined as you
of
would see in
course.
a big four. There are always those hiccups and challenges, everyday challenges. We've heard so some of the people we've had an attrition. So the ones who've left, they talk about, okay, we want to be in a brand name, right? I can't give a brand name right now, but yes, I mean, we want to be a brand at some point. People are looking at comparing apples and oranges. You have to be careful that even if I compare my firm with a bigger firm, right? They're the apple, I'm the orange, right? Their revenue base is some 27, 30, 60, $70 billion. My revenue base is currently a single digit $1 million. So we have to make sure that we understand the bigger picture. And it's fine. I mean, every employee has their choice. I think it's just about they're at different stages in their career and their personal lives. Somebody wants money, which is most important. Um, somebody wants growth and technical learning. Because if you stay with such a firm, right, there is a huge opportunity to grow significantly if it gets kickstarted, right? It's just about trusting the whole process and believing in what you can do,
Yeah,
right, and how you can contribute to it. Because a lot of times, like, I'll give you an example. What we were also trying to do here in India was try and focus on certain Indian clients, um, right, and how we can provide consulting services to those Indian clients. We're not looking at audit services right now to Indian clients, but maybe in the future. But reaching out, and one of the things that I've realized is uh, people do start quickly with passion, but the passion dies down. Right? They if they face rejection or they face that okay, they're not getting that response from new clients. Um, they feel dejected, they feel demotivated. Oh, should I be doing this? We're not winning any new work. I think it's most important to stick to your core values. um, Stick to the belief that we will do it, and most importantly, being patient in this process. In India, everybody's assigned to a particular chartered accountant. Everybody has a chartered accountant they work with. They know those chartered accountants. They will not move the first time you ask them, right? It is just about being persistent, right? At some point, you will hit one on the head, right? You will hit the nail on the head. So it will happen. That is where I see a lot of times when people lose that patience. Like I, like one example I'll give is, peop- I had to have a conversation with one employee who was trying to win a client and wasn't getting the response. Right? It's just about helping them understand that this is how it works. This is how, even if you try and set up something, any startup, right? While ours is a different sort of startup, but any startup, you have to first believe in your own idea, and secondly, you have to keep persisting with clients, right? Not everybody will have a breakthrough idea, right? And ours is a very competitive scale. I mean, there are a lot of chartered accountants out there who would charge much lesser fee than what you would be willing to, who would probably be known to them because their families, friends, and whatnot. So you have to be persistent. Getting a rejection is only a stepping stone of the towards acceptance. Let me put it that way, right? Because once you get rejected, you get to know what you could have done differently, right? It may have been a perfect pitch. There's always something that you would learn out of that pitch, even if it's a rejection, right? So that's where I feel that's one big thing. Moving on to more on the second question, because this is something that was brought up. Um, what I would kind of encourage the people who want to get into this is, one, the passion should not die down, right? Um, I took at least 4 months for somebody to really start having those conversations. Now, 4 months is a shorter time. Sometimes it takes longer, um, but you have to believe that this will happen. You have to understand the market, uh, and you have to be honest to yourself and be transparent with the people you're dealing with. If you are technically sound, nobody can stop you, right? Um, but if you know that you can't do something, like we were having a conversation, there in the US, there is a form which is A133, which is a government audits and state audit form. I have never done that. And that's where you have to be upfront and honest about it, that you've not done that, right? They may not start working with you, but at least they would know that this person will communicate what's true to it, right? That's what the folks out there are looking at. Can he deliver what I'm asking, and can he be open and honest about if there's something that does not work for him or her? So if that is one two things that people should keep in mind as they want to step into this, right? In terms of passion and persistence, and being open and transparent about what you can do and what you have not done but willing to do, right? But any false promises, it does not go well with anybody, right? And that's the case in India and abroad. But I think it's just important to be upfront about it. Don't hide it just because it's embedded in the fine print. Don't assume they would have read it. Just see it out there. um, but in terms of other things, how I would want my fellow chartered accountants to approach this is, do that market study, right? If you are, let's say, you're going in a US market, PCOB, on the PCOB website, uh, there is a huge list of all the accounting firms that are there. And that includes both from a tax perspective, audit, bookkeeping, and everything. Right? Have a research, pick out any 100 to start with, right? Pick out any 100 to start with. Identify whether there is a base in India or not. Right? There, I'm sure there would be a base, either through another firm. There may be another Indian firm who might be helping them out. You could have a Philips DHC who might be helping. You might have a BDO or a Hari Bhakti who might be helping. And there are so many firms in India, we don't even know, who might be helping US CPA firm. But it's important to understand and so identify whether they have a presence in India. If they have a presence in India, identify the person, because sometimes they may say may have a presence, but they might not have any relation, or they might not be taking up any. They might be just doing tax work, right? So there could be a case that there's an audit work, accounting work that's there to be taken up, right? Even if they don't come to you, I mean, it's okay. They might go back to the same firm and say, okay, you pick up this audit and accounting, but at least they will have you in mind that, okay, this is the firm that came up to me. Identify who's the US leader of audit, right? Because that is the person you want to connect with on LinkedIn. Because it's important, once you connect with them on LinkedIn, they will not respond in the first go, right? Again, do a follow up after a week, right? Appreciate you're busy. Uh, just wanted to check if you had a chance to look at my email, right? And then simultaneously making sure you are starting to build a maybe a pitch deck or something that of what exactly you would provide, right? If you're saying you can only pick up objective work, you say that you only pick up objective work. You will not pick up any complex work. If you say you would want to pick up complex work, believe in yourself, have a team that does that, right? And then also think from a perspective of giving them a freebie, right? Sometimes we see this as very lucrative, okay, US dollar billing and whatnot. But we always forget that they have to trust you to believe in you, right? They have to see what you deliver to really understand, okay, can you deliver this to us if we go forward with this approach? So be open to the idea of a demo project, right? Or pilot project, as a lot of people call it. Or ask them, okay, can you give us the support for last year? We will try and give you the documentation for the current year of how we could do it. So there are these nuances which you try and tell them. Of course, of the 100, maybe you shortlist only 50 that you would reach out to, right? And of those 50, only 5 respond or 10 respond, right? And from those 10, only maybe 2 might be interested, only one person might be interested. But you have to be persistent. So while you're trying to do that exercise, try and figure out, okay, what are the remaining CPA firms? They do a similar exercise, but you have to be focused on those US CPA firms who do not have a India presence or do not have a back office presence. It may be India, it may be Philippines, it may be Pakistan, it may be Sri Lanka. Um, there's also a new thing coming up, and something that people should explore, is a lot of these firms, or I would say in the Middle East, they are trying to build a hub which can be more of a central point for the global accounting or support function. So it is still in early stage. I think a lot of conversations are going around it, but there is a huge opportunity there as well, right? Instead of waiting for US to come directly to India, pick a firm in the middle, right? Figure out there's a firm called Audit Partners in the US. That does not do audits. It's not a CPA firm, but it does work with US CPA firms. So as long as you can tie up with them, it may give you an option to engage with the US CPA firm. It may not be that lucrative if you would have directly worked with them, but it would still be lucrative enough to kind of pick it up. Right? Similarly, in Europe and in the UK, you have this Association of International Accountants. I think it's pretty much across the world, but that association itself is for members across the world. Right? If you're a chartered accountant, you can get registered with them and be a member of that organization, and you would get an access to their directory. And you can have CPA firms which are sitting uh, in the US. You can have firms sitting in the UK. You have firms sitting in the Europe, Australia, Africa, for that matter, and then really reaching it out. Right? So there is tremendous opportunity that's out there. Um, all you need to do is just be persistent and not get demotivated or dejected if you face rejections. It's part of business, right? You are going to run a business. And the other thing that I would strongly recommend for people to is be prepared to invest in a couple of years, right? Even if you don't break even, it's okay. Get someone uh, who you feel is technically sound, because you need a right hand. You It's easy to say that you can go all by yourself, but you do need support when things are not. You might get 100 of things in one day, but if you have to build or you have to make sure you have somebody who works with you, right? And then it makes it easier, because eventually when you start, you also learn about how you do administrative work. So right from being the junior most person in the office to the senior most person, you have to do every single thing, be the HR, be it IT, be it recruitment, be it your admin and operations, be it performance management. All of those things is something that you'll have to think about. You and alongside that, you'll also have to think about, okay, how do I keep retaining this talent, right? Because they will keep moving. I mean, Big Four is like picking up people like anything, even if uh, they may not be at that level that they should get that package. And I know it's a sad state, but it is the truth. People are getting close to 50% jumps, right? Because Big Four wants to capture the entire market. They do not want to leave a good person out there to go to any other firm. So you have to make sure you invest in one person, and the rest can be, you could hire BCom graduates, you can hire people who are still pursuing their CA, right? They probably are still giving their attempts, but they are a great find, right? I'll give I'll give an example. I think one of my first people was a person who wasn't clearing her chartered accountancy. Now she's a chartered accountant. She cleared in the January result. But you have to be flexible and make them understand that we believe in you, that you will clear. So I went to the extent that I will give you leaves to appear for your exams. If you show that level of confidence in them, I think they would be ready, more than happy to work with you and for you. So, so it's just the whole journey that's there.
Okay, do you want to add
Hmm.
anything else? Do you want to add anything?
Well, no, I know you spoke about how you manage stress. I think I, I think I work more now, or pretty much the same number of hours that I used to work at PwC. Um, the only suggestion that I will have is always make sure health is priority number one. If you want to take a step back, it's okay. Uh, it's like a slingshot. If you take a couple of steps back, you can take a bigger jump, right? And how I've kind of tried to divide my priorities as health, family, um, and then family and friends, and then work. Of course, you have to. There will be certain times when you have to give work priority number one. There will still be times when you have to work longer. Uh, just maintain that balance. I think instead of, I've recently learned something very, very interesting is everybody talks about work-life balance. I think life is the entire 24 hours and work is only part of it. Like going out and spending time is part of it. So we should move away from the word work-life balance and call it more work-life integration. Because if you're able to do that, I think a lot of times we face troubles with time management and all that happens. And as long as you keep believing that life is one complete whole and work is only a part of it, you will get what you want in all realms. And it's about maintaining that integration across all the realms of your life.
That's amazing, Ankur. I mean, that's amazing. You've dealt with a lot, right? I mean, getting a stroke at such a young age, wow, it's not easy. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot to deal with. So yes, so Ankur, I mean, I genuinely had a great conversation, and I'm so glad we did this.